heart of McNair County, Tennessee, nestled amongst the rolling hills and dense forests, lay the quiet town of Adamsville. But beneath its peaceful facade, a dark current of corruption, moonshining, gambling, and prostitution flowed, particularly along the notorious Mississippi-Tennessee state line. It was into this simmering cauldron of vice that Buford Pusser, a man destined to become a legend, would walk tall, carrying a very big stick.
Gentleman here is the gentleman whose life is the subject of the movie Walking Tall, Buford Pusser.
Hi, Buford. Welcome to the show.
From the moment he donned his sheriff's badge, Buford Pusser declared war on illegal activities plaguing his community. He was relentless. His methods often unconventional, but undeniably effective. He smashed moonshine stills, raided gambling dens, and confronted the criminals who operated. He faced constant threats, numerous assassination attempts, and endured multiple stabbings and shootings. He was shot 8 times and stabbed 7 times throughout his career, each scar a testament to his resolve. Buford Pusser's unwavering commitment to justice, his courage in the face of overwhelming odds, and his willingness to walk tall against corruption earned him national recognition, inspiring books, songs, and the famous Walking Tall movies. Join us as we explore the real-life history of this larger-than-life legendary man. Welcome to Talk with History. I am your host, Scott, here with my wife and historian, Jen.
Hello.
On this podcast, we give you insights to our history-inspired bold travels, YouTube channel journey, and examine history through deeper conversations with the curious, the explorers, and the history lovers out there. Now, Jen, this is a topic that I was sort of aware of, but more because of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. And if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, is there's movies of walking tall. So Buford Pusser.
Yes, cool name.
Cool name, but difficult to say. Like we both struggled all throughout making the video and the podcast. Was a sheriff, right? And we'll talk kind of about his background and how he got into this and what happened while he was doing his sheriff thing. But had multiple movies, and the 70s movies was huge. But I actually first knew the Rock movie, which was like 2004 timeframe, early Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, which was nowhere close to kind of accurate to what the true life story was. So let's talk a little bit about this sheriff, this man, a 6'6" giant person who was an athlete turned Marine, turned constable, turned sheriff, and kind of what he did here in Tennessee.
Yeah, I mean, so I had heard about him. I had people kind of tell me about him. My parents really loved this 1973 movie about him, which is the most accurate of all the movies that are about him. This one, when we went to his home, the lady said that one is 80% accurate. The other ones lose accuracy as they come out. But larger than life gentleman. So, but he's born in that area. Like he's born in McNair County. And so he's from there, and he's kind of made his name, like you said, as an athlete there, as a football player there, right? In a small town, you can imagine, big guy. He goes on to do the wrestling circuit. So he's called Buford the Bull. He does that, be the precursors to WWE when you would wrestle in arenas, and it was kind of showmanship, but also athleticism at the same time. It helped to be tall, it helped to be big. So that Buford the Bull name kind of followed him through that, but it's not forgiving on your body. And he had some issues with that and decides to go back home. He gets married to his wife, Pauline, and brings his family back home and decides to get back into the law enforcement lifestyle. His father was in law enforcement, so he becomes a police chief for Adamsville, which is the town that he is from there. And as he's doing that job is when he starts to see all the corruption in the town. Yeah. And like Scott was saying, like the prostitution, the moonshining, the gambling, and it's pretty bad. And I know you're probably like, what, in a small town? I know. And I think it was like, they call it the Dixie Mafia or the State Line Mob. Yep. It was really like this Tennessee, Mississippi line, and they're kind of skirting the law in both states here, and no one's really holding them accountable. So it basically gets to kind of run rampant. And because of that, and they're buying off the police force, when he steps in to fight it, I mean, he basically gets almost killed. And like Scott said, he's shot many times. There's a couple assassination attempts against him. So he becomes so upset and mad about this that he fights the corruption back, and he's logging, he's helping clear land and log. And so he finds a really big stick, for lack of a better term, like almost like a huge bat.
It looks like almost like a small fence post.
Yeah. And he carries that around and he busts up like the stills, the moonshining stills and gambling rings. And he's just busting things with this huge stick that becomes synonymous with his legend. And he's carrying the stick, walking tall.
Yeah. And what I found interesting, right? So he kind of has this journey of being born in the area, leaves. I believe he joins the U.S. Marines for a short stint, and then he's like medically discharged or something like that. Goes up to Chicago, does the kind of professional wrestling thing, gets married. So his wife's probably like, hey, this professional wrestling thing isn't so good. Let's go join the family business, right? So heading back home, I wondered, and I don't know if this is addressed anywhere, if this state line mob had been going on for a while, and his father was a sheriff before him. Did his father know? I don't know if that's ever addressed. So that question popped in my head as I was kind of looking this up before.
Yeah. In the movie, it's kind of alluded to that they kind of turned their head the other way. And the father had done that too. Although the father knew it was wrong.
Okay.
And he knew he shouldn't have been doing that. But the father was also past his prime.
Yeah. He's on the tail end.
Yeah. And
older.
And what happens with Pusser is he gambles, but they don't let him win, even though he should have won.
Okay.
Right? And so he gets mad and he calls them out, and they
like beat him up or something.
Beat him up. They give him a message.
Gotcha.
That you will never win. Right? Like we run this town.
So that's when he kind of changes his mind. He's like, hey, I'm not just going to be a constable, just kind of like a beat cop.
Yeah.
I'm going to take over for what my father was doing before,
Yes.
sheriff of the whole county.
Yes.
And then he's just on this like war path to clean up his neighborhood.
Well, they beat him up pretty bad. And they, like you said, the assassination attempts. And then he fights back, vigilante justice. And so they take him to court for that, right? That he went after them and beat them up. And the jury doesn't convict him. The jury finds him innocent because he makes the plea that if you guys all see this and I'm trying to fight back, if you support me, I'll run for sheriff and I'll clean up this town.
So that is we watched the Rock movie.
Yeah, so it's kind of
in I'll call it the Rock version. Mm-hmm. In the Rock version, that's basically kind of that piece of it happens.
Yeah,
that is incredibly unbelievable.
Yes, but I think the town was so held under all this corruption that it was like the silent majority.
Yeah.
Right. They wanted someone to clean up their town, but they didn't want to be the one to voice it because they didn't want their family to get hurt. So
they found him innocent, and then they're like, "Hey, we're gonna put you in charge."
Yeah, they elected him.
Have at it.
And so what happens is he doesn't have anybody he can trust. Right. He doesn't have any deputies that he can trust. So when you see him breaking up all these moonshining stills, it's like him and one other guy. It's like one other guy he could trust, and the two of them basically do this together. And it's the old story. Like, he's a big guy, he's 6'6", but they come after his wife. They will kill his wife.
Yeah.
Right? They come after his family. That's when he gets shot at so many times. His house gets attacked. So it's all of these things. Like they're not going to go down without a fight. And a lot of this is like a motel in right on the border in 1960. He actually shoots. They kind of pull him in. They call the police and say something happened there. So when he comes in, they try to ambush him and shoot him. And he shoots the woman who has the gun. In 1960, shooting a woman's kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
Right. So, but she's the madam of this prostitution ring. And so he always feels bad about that. And then her fiance, boyfriend, husband retaliates. And that's when they shoot him in 1967. And then it's still that those same people who will kill his wife in August of 1967. They try to kill him, and they almost do, but they kill her. And sorry.
No. I was going to say, if I remember correctly, how they ended up killing his wife was he got a call to go somewhere. And I think she was with him at the time.
Yeah, she wanted to go for a ride with him.
She wanted to go for a ride. And so he goes out there and they ambush him. And they basically just kind of have these like automatic weapons. I don't know what they are, but they're shooting up the entire car. So whoever's in the car, they're shooting.
Yep.
His wife is one of them. She's killed. Is that when he like gets like shot through the jaw?
Through the jaw. Yep. So his face is all messed up. He has a lot of surgery.
And you'll see when we put it in the video, it's pretty incredible that he got, I mean, let alone getting shot like 8 times, stabbed a bunch of times and all this stuff, but then getting shot through the face. I think I read he was in the hospital for like 18 days, required multiple surgeries to come back, had scars for life, obviously, but was kind of still functioning and came back. And, I think I've read somewhere somebody called him the unkillable cop.
Yeah. I mean, and he was sheriff until 1970. This is 1967. And then he's elected constable of Adamsville, 1970, 1972. And the movie comes out in 1973, and then he's killed in 1974. So his life is pretty fast when you think about it.
Yeah, and the reason I think that I read when I was looking this up before the podcast, that he wasn't elected sheriff again was because they had term limits. So he had done 3 or 4 terms all in a row.
Yep.
And so he had done his last term. And so I guess what the people actually did is they saw, hey, this is his last term. So they wrote him in.
They did.
They wrote him in, and I don't think he was sheriff again, but that's why he got to be constable again.
Yeah.
And so he kind of he got to keep patrolling the streets and trying to keep things safe. So he was making such an impact that the community was like, we're just going to write, because he wasn't allowed to campaign, but everybody else wrote him in, and that's how he kind of got to continue all the way to the very end.
Yeah, the people wanted him, and he really was a man of the people. He really was fighting for the people, and so much so that his family was really put on the line through all of this. What's interesting is it starts to get recognition, especially after his wife is killed. It gets statewide recognition. He gets support from the state. These people that are there, the mafia, the state line mafia, the Dixie mafia, this crime circuit, like they're not going down without a fight. Yeah. So you can imagine how lucrative this must have been and how long it went on for them to put up this much of a fight against a man who's bigger than life, who's getting all this attention, and they're still fighting back.
Yeah, and it was interesting because he gets national attention, and all of a sudden they made a movie about his life.
Yeah,
this is why he's still alive.
This is while he's still alive, and this is what makes him move into legend, right? So this movie, what's so interesting is this movie is made on a $500,000 budget, and McNairy County doesn't want them to film it in their county because they don't want that they don't want to look bad.
The negative stigma.
In front of the nation. So it's filmed in the next county over. So we go to that courthouse from the movie where he's walking out from the movie, because it's not McNairy Courthouse. It's the next county over. And but it's all filmed in Tennessee. It's all filmed in the general same area.
Yep.
And it goes on to make $40 million. Like, it is a sleeper hit. It's one of these things that moves into legend. People loved it so much. It's gritty. It's authentic. It's filmed there, right? And the new actor, Don Baker, who does a great job, who moves on into playing character actors, and you would know him today.
For those watching, I'll flash his picture up on the screen, but you guys will recognize him for a fair amount of stuff.
So he does such a good job portraying this one-man fight, almost like this Robin Hood, right? This man who is fighting back with the corruption, with the long bat, and taking on the whole town on his own. And that's pretty close to the truth. And then his wife dying, that's the end of the movie. And so in reality, it comes out in 1973. 1974, Buford Pusser is he's actually asked to star in the follow-up movie. They make 2 more movies after this, and he's asked to star in the movie, and he wanted to get some things right about himself. And he had met in Memphis that day, and he's actually driving back from that meeting, and he went to the fair in town, driving home right on the main street back to Adamsville, and his car basically overturns and he dies. And there's still speculation today. Did someone mess with his car? How did this happen? But he dies in 1974. He never gets to star in that movie. And there's a marker right there on the main road where he dies. And so it's never really finished, like what happens with all of that. And now his house today is a museum.
And they did a phenomenal job with that. So that's kind of where we went and where we did a good portion of our filming. Mm-hmm. And they did, I mean, the nice thing about every now and then with some of this more recent history stuff, they have, when we go to these museums, they have like all the newspaper articles, and they had a bunch of like downstairs, they had a bunch of the movie memorabilia and stuff like that. They had a little video that we watched in the beginning, which was entertaining. And so it was really neat to go there. We were in his home, right? And there's like a cardboard cutout of him. Like, that's how famous he was.
So I got to stand beside the cardboard cutout. You can see that 6'6", I'm 5'7", so you can see the difference between us two. It is a lot like going to Graceland. It is this snapshot of life in middle-class America, 1970, right? So they haven't changed the house since he died in 1974. So it's the shag carpet, it's, the greens, the olive greens.
The wood paneling on the walls.
Yes. So, but it's his home. It's his furniture that's in there. And like Scott said, you see a movie with people that knew him talking about what it was like to talk to him and be around him while he was doing all of this, and kind of like what he would do, some real life stories of him protecting women who would be physically assaulted by their husbands and things like that, and how he handled those types of things. What was interesting to me is when Buford Pusser is killed, Elvis Presley comes to his funeral. This is how well known this man is. And Elvis Presley comes to his funeral, but doesn't go because to the cemetery, because he doesn't want to take attention away from Buford Pusser. So he sits in one of the kids' bedrooms, and they actually have a little marker outside the bedroom that Elvis Presley sat in here. And the daughter came back to check on him a couple times. And the last time she came back to check on him, he had left through the back door. He just didn't want the attention. But Elvis Presley made a point to come there for the funeral of Buford Pusser. So that lets you know in the area. And this was about an hour and a half.
About an hour and a half from Memphis.
Yeah. So how well he's known in the area. So I thought that was very interesting. But like Scott said, they have a ton of family memorabilia there now. His high school yearbooks, photographs of the family, wedding albums, and then downstairs, like a man cave. Yeah. And they have a lot of stuff from the movie down there.
It was neat.
Very neat. So it was very nice. The curator allowed us to film. She thought it was great that we were there. She thought it was great that we were telling his story. It's now at 342 Buford Street in Adamsville, Tennessee, and it is considered the Buford Pusser Museum. It's not open on Sundays. It's only open Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Yep. And what's neat is they have a little marker to him down the street, and they have a big water tower that even has his silhouette on it and says home of Buford Pusser. So they really have embraced this man in Adamsville, Tennessee. And he's died, over 50 years ago. Yeah. So it's just very interesting to be able to tell his story. Like Scott said, he's still influencing movies today. Walking Tall with The Rock.
I enjoyed The Rock. I mean, it's kind of classic early 2000s. There's not a ton of plot line. It's just The Rock going in, cleaning up his hometown, bunch of action. Things happen pretty fast. I think Johnny Knoxville is his like sidekick guy.
So the one person he can trust. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and there's some pretty deep, big name actors in this 2004 timeframe movie. So it was pretty fun. And
when we watched it, it even said in honor of Buford Pusser at the end. It actually says that. So you think of this man, he really did make a name for himself, and the movie became a cultural phenomenon, going from 500,000 to 40 million. Even my parents love this movie. So when I had shown my mom pictures, she's like, walking tall. Like she even knew where we were. And it's just so amazing from that era, that 70s era, people know this movie and know this man. So it was really neat to go there. We went to the museum, his home. We went to the marker where he died. And then we went to the courthouse where they filmed a lot of the movie. And you even know this, John Don Baker will walk out of the courthouse. We did all of that and talked about it there. All of this is rural parts of Tennessee. And it was very beautiful area, but definitely you can tell if there was corruption and if there was, a crime ring, this would be the area because you have all these back roads and all these places with, moonshining could take place where hotels could be hidden out and the debauchery could happen there. So I could understand how this would be an area where something like this could prosper.
Yeah, it was really neat to just be able to every now and then do some more recent history. Because I think it was the radio host, because you go on the local radio station once a month, and they had asked you if you had gone and visited that. And that was one of the reasons that we went out there and did this. And it was neat. It was really cool.
Yeah, he keeps asking me about it. So I just want to remind people too that they have just excavated Pauline's grave. So his wife's grave, they excavated it in 2004. They were exhumed. They were reinterred. No one knows what has come out of that. And I think people were saying they were investigating to see how she was killed and to just verify that because her case is still considered an open murder case. No one has ever been charged with her murder.
Yeah, that's one thing I think I saw too, is like one of his things was he wanted to bring the men to justice that killed his wife, and he never technically found the men that did that.
And so, 2004, they were exhumed, reinterred, and we go to their graves. So you'll see that on our video as well. We go to both their graves, we leave flags for them, and we honor them, but this is still ongoing. Now, Buford Pusser, again, was in an accident, and his car is at the museum.
Yep.
So if you want to see what's left of his car after that accident, they actually garage it there so you can see it. Pauline is still an open murder case. So that was very interesting to learn about that. But it is it's super cool to go and visit.
Yeah, it's fun.
And even when we were there, people were visiting.
Yeah,
like
there was more people there than I expected.
Yeah, I mean, I think, like I said, he's really a part of the American story,
especially here in Tennessee,
and one of those legends that has kind of become larger than life.
Yeah,
so it was really neat to go.
It was super cool. And that brings us to the end of our journey through the remarkable and often violent life of Buford Pusser. From a towering figure who wrestled bears to the relentless sheriff who single-handedly took on the criminal underworld of McNairy County, Pusser's story is a testament to a fierce dedication to justice. He left his mark on Adamsville and on American history, his legacy forged in courage and sacrifice. Join us next time as we delve into another fascinating chapter from the annals of history. And until then, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep walking tall.
Thank you.
This has been a Walk with History production. Talk with History is created and hosted by me, Scott Benny. Episode researched by Jennifer Benny. Check out the show notes for links and references mentioned in this episode. Talk with History is supported by our fans at thehistoryroadtrip.com. Our eternal thanks go out to those providing funding to help keep us going. Thank you to Doug McLiverty, Larry Myers, Patrick Benny, Gail Cooper, Christy Coates, and Calvin Gifford. Make sure you hit that follow button in that podcast player, and we'll talk to you next time.